Good afternoon. Welcome to your daily dose of salt and light with myself, Nadine Ness. And we were supposed to have a guest today, and I think there was a bit of a scheduling conflict. It probably more my fault. I just assumed once we agreed, I didn't have to do much follow back. But anyways, we're gonna have the professor next week, at some point next week. So not today. I am gonna be doing so that's why I had to kind of put an episode together real quick today to have something to cover. And yesterday, when I was on yesterday, just not a normal episode, just a live to show you guys the process. I am in my new office. Everything is like new. All the lighting is new. Although it probably looks to you guys very similar to the last one. I have wood walls in all of my house. So, and I couldn't get I've been working on this all morning and all night. I couldn't get it working on my laptop. So it's still the I had to bring the computer down, connect everything like I usually do. I'm missing some pieces. In order for me to have all the screens available, I need to have not a display port. Yeah, a display port that's compatible with MacBook. This one that I have is not. So I have to go buy a new one. And so I'm going to be going to the city this afternoon to do that. Hopefully tomorrow will be on the new system. But the good news is I won't have I didn't have to set up everything, but because of that I can't show you guys. I wish I could. I've got like all the windows now done. I've got a window here and a window there. And then it took me longer. I know I said yesterday I'd try to have an episode with my husband last night. It wasn't a for sure thing, but I really wanted to get there. But by the time I went and picked up my son and came back and made supper, I I finished working on the office, but it didn't go as fast as I had hoped. So hopefully maybe tonight. What's today? Is today Thursday? No, Wednesday. Maybe tonight would work because there's no activities for the kids and stuff. So maybe tonight would work, but I don't want to promise anything. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, don't get upset with me. Again, the setup is very different than I initially thought. So, but I like the lighting. I like how everything looks. I like how much bigger it is. So, but yeah, once you get everything in here, it doesn't look like a whole lot of room. But yeah, okay. So I'm going to be talking about we talked a little bit. Oh, David just told me Clyde has his live stream tonight. That's right. I don't want to necessarily compete with him. Maybe I'll try tomorrow night. I like Clyde. But I have a new mug. I've been looking for like cute little mugs to because I had the maple leaf one, but I found this mug. There's a lady that had like a little booth. So it's handmade. She made the own pottery and got it all together. And I just noticed something I don't like about it. It has a little skull. Can you guys see that? Why? Everything else about it was so perfect. But yeah, this lady owns a booth. She had a booth at a trade show or whatever that was at Wilson's Greenhouse in Saskatoon this weekend, so that's where I bought it. But I can't remember the name. Does it say? No, it does, but it's like it wasn't stamped properly. Anyways, I just don't like the skull. So, we're going to talk about he's got another one tomorrow night. What? Clyde, why are you doing that? I might end up having to compete because Jonathan can't do episodes during the day. So we're trying to figure out what we're going to do. I do know that he does a live on Friday nights too. So maybe ours will be sooner. I'll ask Clyde what time he does his because he's on yeah, what time is it usually? Saskatchewan time that he does his. I know he's still in BC. He's not in the US yet. I'm curious as to what time his is at. 6:30 PST. What is that, Saskatchewan? Are we 2 hours? No? Oh, 7:30 my time. Okay. Well, Jonathan and I could do ours later. I just get so tired in the evening. I'm a morning person. Jonathan's the opposite. He's not a good morning person at all. But okay, let's get into this subject. I was trying to get like the order appropriate as to what happened and when, but there was so much that happened in a 7-hour window. And what I'm talking about, that's the Doug Ford, Trump, Tariff, um, chaos, fiasco, whatever you want to call it. I'll get started with the first thing, which would and I try to find videos of all of this. I'm just noticing. I don't know if I have one of Doug. Also, if you notice that I'm winking, I'm not actually winking. For the last 3 weeks, almost a month, I've had like this eye twitch and I can't seem to shake it. I should find it. The post where tariffs Ford tariff the power. I just realized I didn't have that one. Is it this one? Here, I'll share this tweet because Mario Zelaya did a really good job with I just gotta fix the screen thing. Whoops, where did it go? It disappeared. There you go. Do you guys see it okay? Yeah, he says, let's recap Doug Ford in the last 7 hours. He threatened and implements a 25% tariff on electricity. There's missing a step. So Trump tariffs Canada. And then Doug Ford says it started with Trump. The tariff. We'll be factual here. It's just missing that in there because it wasn't in the last 7 hours. Sorry. Threatens okay, Doug Ford threatens and implements a 25% tariff on electricity. Then he threatens to shut off power. In response, Trump says steel will now get 50% tariff and he will implement the most brutal tariff on auto that will shut down the auto industry. Doug goes on air, basically promotes Carney. He backs off on all threats and takes back the 25% tariff all in a matter of 7 hours. So this is the gist of it. This is what we're going to cover in this episode, but we're going to show you the receipts of everything. I'm just looking at the comments here. Wow, there's a lot of you on YouTube. Is anyone watching from Facebook? I'm wondering if because I changed the name on Facebook. Let me know if you're watching from Facebook. And where are you watching from too? These are 3 of the regulars. I have not seen Kevin or Maria either. I'm curious as to if they're okay. So Maria and Kevin, if you're watching, let us know. Okay, Debbie. Debbie's another regular on Facebook. But you guys can't see Debbie unless I like show it here on YouTube. There's a whole bunch talking on YouTube amongst each other and with me. Angie Newberger is watching from Facebook. And if you comment, it tells me which platform you're watching from. So that went in the wrong pipe. Okay, let's start with Doug Ford announcing the 25% tariff. Okay, wait a minute. I just realized that one's not in order. There's so many videos. I gotta find it. Where did it go? Okay, it's this one. It's a really long one. Here, let's play it. Let me know if the sound doesn't work for you guys. Too. Is the mic sounding okay? Because I just reconnected everything. Is it working okay? There you go. Let's play it. Jonathan Grande is watching from Edmonton. Yep, sounds great. Okay, let's see.
Joining us now is Doug Ford, the premier of Canada's most populous territory, Ontario. And Premier Ford, as we mentioned, President Trump is now saying he is enacting a 50% tariff on steel and aluminum.
So this was after. I just realized that. We can watch this video. I don't have one where he initially announces the tariffs. I just realized that. Let's just watch what Trump has said quickly here. There was a couple of tweets, but this is a really long one. Based on Ontario, Canada placing a 25% tariff on electricity coming into the United States, I have instructed my Secretary of Commerce to add an additional 25% tariff, so 50% on all steel and aluminum coming into the United States from Canada, one of the highest tariffing nations anywhere in the world. This will go into effect tomorrow morning, March 12th. Also, Canada must immediately drop their anti-American farmer tariff on 250% to 390% on various U.S. dairy products, which has long been considered outrageous. I will shortly be declaring a national emergency on electricity within the threatened area. This will allow the U.S. to quickly do what has to be done to alleviate this abusive threat from Canada. If other egregious long-time tariffs are not likewise dropped by Canada, I will substantially increase on April 2nd the tariffs on cars coming into the U.S., which will essentially permanently shut down the automobile manufacturing business in Canada. Those cars can easily be made in the USA. Also, Canada pays very little for national security, relying on the United States military protection. We are subsidizing Canada to the tune of more than $200 billion a year. Why? This cannot continue. The only thing that makes sense is for Canada to become our cherished 51st state. This would make all tariffs and everything else totally disappear. Canadians' taxes will be very substantially reduced. They will be more secure, military and otherwise, than ever before. There would no longer be a northern border problem, and the greatest and most powerful nation in the world will be bigger, better, and stronger than ever. And Canada will be a big part of that. The artificial line of separation drawn many years ago will finally disappear, and we will have the safest and most beautiful nation anywhere in the world. And your brilliant anthem, O Canada, will continue to play, but now representing a great and powerful state within the greatest nation that the world has ever seen. Interesting. Interesting. Your brilliant anthem, O Canada. Why did he focus on that? Does he think the reason Canada doesn't want to become the US is because we don't want to let go of our anthem? That's such a strange thing to add. What are you guys' thoughts on this? So then Trump does that. Let's see what else I've got. Then Ford threatens to shut off electricity. Let's find this one.
Let me be clear.
I'm laughing because it's so insane and pathetic. It really is.
I will not hesitate to increase this charge. If necessary, if the United States escalates, I will not hesitate to shut the electricity off completely. Believe me when I say I do not want to do this. I feel terrible for the American people because it's not the American people who started this trade war. It's one person who's responsible. That's President Trump. I'd rather be working together. I want to sell the US more energy, more electricity, more critical minerals. I want to make Canada and the United States the richest, most successful, safest, most secure two countries on the planet. But as Premier, my number one job is to protect the people of Ontario and in hand protect the people of Canada. I will do whatever it takes. I will fight like I've never fought before to protect Ontario. Let me be clear.
What I find funny is Doug Ford acts like he's like a Donald Trump, like that he has like Donald Trump's cards. He essentially, I'm trying to find someone explained it pretty good in the comments, but not in the comments, in one of the posts that I have, they shared their thoughts on it. But this was Donald Trump's response to this. Oh, I can't do it that way. Why would our country allow another country to supply us with electricity, even for a small area? Who made these decisions and why? And can you imagine Canada stooping so low as to use electricity that so affects the life of innocent people as a bargaining chip and threat? They will pay a financial price for this so big that it will be read about in history books for many years to come. Donald Trump was pissed. And so was the rest of Canada, because the thing is, I said this in a post. Someone said, like I said, Doug Ford needs to be replaced. Like, you guys need, in Ontario, if we have people from Ontario watching, you need to figure out a way to replace him as the leader of the party. He's so destructive. But what he does in Ontario affects the rest of Canada. Tariffs and trade war affects every single provinces, especially the ones that have greater export to the US, like Saskatchewan and Alberta. So when he runs his mouth in Ontario, who does it affect? All of Canada, and even more so the Western provinces. My son is watching. I have a clear door here, glass door, and he's like doing funny faces at me. Oh, at least upstairs he couldn't distract or come and do little things, but now I'm gonna have to put a curtain on that door. Can you guys hear the birds in the background and the kids making noise? So this happens, pisses off Trump, and Trump makes a good point. I said that just yesterday. Trump makes a good point. It's as if like Saskatchewan was to threaten to stop sending fertilizer to the US. That affects food supply. That's people's lives. Like that, this is not just people's job. This is like actually being able to live. So, and I want to make a point too. When Ford says threats like that, America pays a lot of money for the electricity. That's a benefit that Canada gets from selling their electricity to the US. Now Trump, knowing that he might be threatened to have that shut off, is going to do everything in his power to make sure America is set if that happens again, that they can't shut off electricity. And what does that mean? They're going to increase production in the US and likely not going to take from Canada anymore. So this is actually going to hurt Canada's economy more, because US is going to realize we're going to need to figure it out our own. and they have the market, they have the capabilities in the US, they have the people in the US. It's very different. When Canada does the same thing, we just don't have the market in the population to take what we're not selling, right? It's very different in that case. We're not necessarily buying power. At least I don't think we weren't, but I think Kathleen, when she was premier of Ontario at one point, did do something to affect that. But I just noticed here there's a comment by Jerry Ritz, my friend Jerry Ritz. Why in the hell does Ford want to throw gas on the dumpster fire? It's so true. Okay, let's see what else I've got. There's another. Kevin here says, Doug Ford is Kevin. I'll share you the tweet. Oh, I just realized it's not low enough. Oh, it won't let me show. Here. Kevin says, Doug Ford is going to single-handedly F the rest of Canada. Someone muzzle this idiot. Despite the fact that Canada is charging the US from 250 to 390 tariffs on many of our farm products, Ontario just announced a 25% surcharge. Did I read this already? I'm not sure. I'll reread it. Ontario just announced a 25% surcharge on electricity of all things, and you're not even allowed to do that because our tariffs are reciprocal. We'll just get it all back on April 2nd. Canada is a tariff abuser and always has been, but the United States is not going to be subsidizing Canada any longer. Don't need your cars. We don't need your lumber. We don't need your energy, and very soon you will find that out. Make America great again. Like he's single-handedly destroying Canada. Now what happened after that? Let's go back to the list. Doug Ford goes on air and basically promotes Mark Carney. Here you go. We'll play that.
He understands finances.
Oh, I didn't play the video of where Doug Ford was threatening everything. Let's do that one first. Where did it go? It's kind of a long one, so
to hold up.
I'll make it go a bit faster too.
Get some of those answers now. Von Hilliard for us here in Washington. Let's turn to Canada. Joining me now is Doug Ford. He is the Premier of Ontario. Mr. Premier, we appreciate you again making time for us here on Meet the Press Now. Obviously, Von just noted it, and we've been reporting in the last several minutes here that you announced that you're lifting that 25% surcharge on electricity exports after talking with the Commerce Secretary, Howard Lutnick. Take us inside that conversation, if you will, just a little bit. What assurances did you get from Washington before you made this decision to hold off on these surcharges?
Well, first of all, Aaron, thank you so much for having me on. I started every interview with saying how much we love Americans, and I know Americans love Canadians. We have to stop the bleeding. Secretary Lutnick reached out to me, put an olive branch out to sit down and have a discussion to move the USMCA deal forward and not wait till April the 2nd. We have to make sure we protect both countries. And as we're duking it out back and forth, China's laughing. They're building an arsenal of critical minerals. And we have to work together. We're the two greatest nations in the world. Let's build that Unpacking fortress. And as for the aluminum and steel, 60% of the aluminum that the U.S. makes is produced in the U.S. The rest, vast majority of it, comes from Quebec, Canada, along with steel. But let's work together. Cooler heads have to prevail here, or we'll decimate both economies. And we're seeing it over the last few days.
Understood. So in your conversation, then, obviously you agreed to not implement the surcharge. Did the Commerce Secretary?
There's an echo when I play the video. Okay, I'm going to mute myself. Let's see.
Offer you anything in exchange? Was there an understanding that the U.S. would be making a concession as well?
Well, they made the concession of dropping the additional 25%. They had it up to 50% on the steel and aluminum, and a meeting. We need to sit down at the table. We need to move forward this USMCA deal as soon as possible. Every single day that goes by, we see the market down over $4 trillion. Inflation's happening. Threats of assembly plants in the auto sector closing down on both sides of the border. Manufacturing, consumer confidence is down. We need to sit down, get this done. We're the largest customer for the U.S. We love the American people, and I do. I spent 20 years of my life there, and I just want to make a deal that's a fair deal for both countries, and let's unite and let's stick together.
So if I understood you correctly, there will still be a 25% tariff enacted on Canadian steel and aluminum tomorrow. Are you comfortable with that? Are you prepared to reinstate your surcharges potentially down the road?
Well, we have $30 billion of tariffs against the U.S. I can't stand tariffs. Let's work things out. Let's sit down. Let's make both countries prosperous and the greatest two countries in the world. And that's what we need to do. Rather than arguing back and forth, let's sit down and move forward on this deal. We're the two most important allies in the world. And rather than fighting, we need to sit down and move forward and be united for the rest of the world to see.
So when you have that sit down with the Commerce Secretary and with the Trade Representative,
I almost forgot to unmute myself. I'll need to figure that out. I think it's because I adjusted the mic a bit. So somebody sat down Doug Ford and had a talk with him, obviously, because this is a much different type of language. This is what we should have had all along. But instead we had hothead Ford. I don't know who sat him down and talked to him. Maybe the auto industry and say, what are you doing? You're going to destroy us. Like probably what it is. But he sounds a lot different now. Anyways, I'm going to mute myself again and we'll watch the rest.
what do you hope to accomplish? How do you walk out of that meeting on Thursday feeling like things are better and will get better down the road?
Well, we have to make sure that we both send out a message. The markets, I always say, the markets dictate, and the markets have been tumbling. And hopefully that will give a little more certainty to people throughout the world, but especially in the US and Canada. As the markets tumble, people's pension funds will get hurt, investments will get hurt. And that's the last thing we want to do as two great nations, is to hurt the people of the US or hurt the people of Canada.
So coming to this agreement now, have you been in touch at all with the Prime Minister's office, with Justin Trudeau or Mark Carney about the actions you're taking here? Are they backing you up?
Yes, I'll be heading down with the Finance Minister, Minister LeBlanc, and also Ambassador Hillman. We'll have a conversation with Secretary Lucknecht and his whole team. But this is a right decision on both sides. Nothing happens if you don't sit down and discuss the issues. Let's get the differences on the table. Let's come up with a solution, and let's move forward.
I have to ask you, we've heard President Trump several times, and particularly in the last few days, make reference to Canada becoming the 51st state. Obviously, this is something that folks there in Canada have talked about, have responded to. What's your thinking about the president's comments on that? Is that something that you're taking seriously, at least coming from him?
Well, that's never going to happen. So let's move on from the 51st state. Let's move forward and talk about opportunities for Americans and Canadians. That's what we need to talk about. Future opportunities, protect ourselves against our foes around the world, be it China or anyone else that wants to try to economically or otherwise attack the US and Canada. We need to stick together.
All right, Premier Doug Ford of Ontario, sir, we appreciate your time. And when you get here to Washington on Thursday, maybe we...
So he's going to Washington tomorrow. Interesting. Anyways, I wish he had been talking like this all along, which is basically what I've been saying. And a lot of people have been saying, I wonder if he started seeing the sentiment was like, what are you doing? And you're going to destroy our province. Like, I'm curious as to how that happened, who sat him down. I'm just going to show some of the comments. David says, auto and steel and Ludnick probably be slapped into a major reality check. I think so too. Neil Ness says there's a Sean Newman podcast 702, a roundtable on Alberta separating, very long but interesting. No outrage from Team Canada on the 100% tariff China just slapped on Canada. David said that. Sorry, I forgot to show your tweet, Neil. It's true. Has Pierre Poilievre even said anything about it? I was looking for it. I searched yesterday Let's see. Let's just go look. I'll take you guys with me. We'll do a quick search. China. Let's see what he's tweeted about lately. Oops, that's not what I meant to do. There you go. Let's do latest. I don't see anything new. Let's search 100. Does that mean even Pierre hasn't even addressed it? That's really disappointing. Yeah, I don't see anything. Not a word. Also, the lobster industry and lentils. That is so disappointing. David says PP Pierre seems to be focus grouping his campaign. That is not a winning strategy. What does that mean, focus grouping? Like only zoning in on certain things? Is that what it means? I know could be posturing to save face. I mean, no one is going to respect someone that just rolls over. Are you talking about Doug Ford? Probably. I know that Scott Moe addressed it, so let's go see what Scott Moe said. Obviously, Scott Moe should have addressed it because the canola 100% tariff, that's devastating to Saskatchewan's farming industry. Let's see. Oh, there's the SARM convention too right now. Funny, on LinkedIn, someone from there searched my LinkedIn profile. I'm just checking to see what he said about China. Here's one. SK produces 55% of Canada's canola. Alberta produces 29% and Manitoba 16%. Thousands of jobs depend on canola production and processing in Western Canada. Whether or not you agree with the federal government's response to U.S. trade actions, there's no doubt they will have taken action and reacted quickly as they should. But when it's an exclusively Western Canadian industry like canola under attack from Chinese tariffs, cricket. What's the plan, Mark Carney? Ooh, this is actually a really good tweet. So that was yesterday. I didn't see it yesterday. I'm just going to. What else did he say? I saw a different post. I don't know what that is. Let's see. Was it on Facebook? It was the day that it got announced. Oh, here's more. As the new Liberal leader, Mark Carney, starts, there are a number of day one priorities for Saskatchewan residents. Firstly, Canadians look forward to you keeping your promise to eliminate the consumer carbon tax. It would be a great tariff relief measure. It needs to happen before the carbon tax increases again on April 1st. We would hope you have immediate and swift action on this priority. Secondly, we need to hear Mark Carney's plan to respond to the devastating Chinese canola tariff, which are in response to the Liberals' government ill-advised attempt to prop up the electric vehicle industry. Someone had said where we don't even buy much of in Canada. we wouldn't be buying much from China anyways. An ongoing trade war with Canada's largest trading partner is hurting all of us. What are your immediate steps to end these Trump tariffs? So that's what he said. Let's see what else. I had seen he had like tweeted someone. I don't know if it was tweeted or on Facebook. Oh, yeah. He said, congratulations to the new Liberal leader on Facebook. And the comments, oh my gosh, were like he was getting raked over the coals. Is that the term, the expression? I don't see the one for the tariff. Oh, here it is. So he took a picture of a post of someone else and he said, well put, Trevor. SAS canola industry is being put in the line of fire due to tariffs on Chinese electric vehicles, which nobody wants, to protect North America's EVs, which few can afford, impacting Saskatchewan canola sales, which people need and are already paying for. So this was the post. So Trevor had said, I have said it before that my biggest fear in farming isn't weather, it's government policy. The federal Liberal EV tariff 6 months ago on China after giving Volkswagen $13 billion to prop up MPs. But tell me again, this isn't East voters versus West voters. Propping up inefficient, over-unionized industries is not a great growth plan. Saskatchewan agricultural is some of the best in the world when it comes to efficiency. We need at least Canadians to understand our story. More information here. Interesting that Scott Moe chose that post, because that post like is full of Western alienation sentiment. So for people who don't know, sorry, I should have announced this. Canada back in October put 100% tariff on electric vehicles coming from China, which means nobody would be buying Chinese electric vehicle. Now, China on the weekend retaliated by saying, okay, we're going to do 100% tariff on canola and a few other things. I think food here, let's see what it is. Might as well bring it up. Let's see if I can. I always write tariff wrong. I always want to put 2 R's instead of 2 F. Who else struggles with that? I'm trying to find it here. Here's an article. I will do the full screen though, so you guys can see it. Oh, I can't watch it. Never mind. It's behind a paywall and I don't have time to find it. Let's see if I can find another one. I should have had that. Sorry, I didn't know we were going to go start talking about it. I have posted about it. Oh, I'll just go find my post. That'll be faster. Or I don't think it was the actual article. Maybe this one will. Oh, not that one. Let's do this one. This was written by Sylvain Charlebois, the food professor, the one that was going to come on the show. Canadians pay the price for Ottawa's trade war strategy. Let's see if it talks about the China one. When was this written? Oh, it was 4 days ago. Maybe. Yeah, that would have been when it was announced. Here. Is that working? No. I won't read the whole thing. I'm just trying to find China. Oh, it's not on there. We'll talk about it when we have him on the show. I'm going to read some comments here. Do you guys know what else it was? Like rapeseed oil and rapeseed, which is canola. It's just an awful name. But do you know what else it was? I think it was like seafood and fish and stuff. David says Canada has 100% tariffs on Chinese EV, which protect the battery plants in Ontario. What's not being pointed out is the tariff scare is that vehicles unlock groceries and bottles on shelves and most other products have already been paid for by those trying to sell them. Who won? Peas as well was another one. I did have it. I just don't know where it went. Let's look at a few other videos. I want to show. Oh, this was Danielle Smith.
Even if it holds back our response, even.
Here, let's open that one. Let's play that video with Danielle Smith's response to Doug Ford.
Even if it holds back our response, even if it holds back one of our biggest pieces of leverage.
Actually, there's no circumstance under which I would agree to another tax on Alberta that takes $40 billion out of Alberta. You can ask me as much as you like. The answer is no.
Okay, I'll leave it on that note. Thanks very much, Premier.
So I thought it was longer, but it's not. She was asked a few things. So she wrote a post too. So let's read that one. Today's Premier Doug Ford. So the video was tagged to the post. Today's Premier Doug Ford said one day Alberta might have to give approval for a federal tax on oil and gas instead, or oil and gas headed from Alberta to the US. I understand our new Prime Minister, Mark Carney, has mused about the same thing. Let me be clear. Alberta will never agree to such an absurd and self-destructive idea. It's not an option. I'm not going to agree to do something that will cost hundreds of thousands of Alberta and Canadians their jobs almost overnight. That would be like placing export tariffs on Ontario's auto parts. Also a bad idea. There are many effective ways that Canada and Alberta can work together to pressure the US president to change course on tariffs. That is not one of them, period. So I like that response. Let's see what else. This one's 3 minutes long. I'll open it and then I'm going to mute myself. I'll figure it out tomorrow. I think it's just my mic might be too high, but I don't want to adjust it. Maria, you're back. You weren't here yesterday. We were worried. Where's Kevin? Kevin's not here too. Usually he is. So Maria, I'm just going to show Maria. Here, let's watch Doug Ford after the fiasco, after someone gives him a strong talking to. Let's hear what he has to say here in this interview. I'm going to mute myself though. So if I forget to unmute, let me know.
A little while ago, I had an opportunity to speak to Secretary Lutnick. And Secretary Lutnick has sent out an olive branch to us.
I just want to say something quick before. Look how demoralized he looks. He looks like a dog coming back with his tail between his legs.
To come down and immediately meet with him, meet with the whole trade administration, and discuss the future. Rather than waiting till April the 2nd, threats going back and forth, tit for tat, I've agreed to suspend temporarily, and we always have that tool in our toolkit, until we sit down over the next day or two. I'll be heading down to Washington along with Dominic LeBlanc, and we'll have a good discussion. You know, with any negotiation that we have, there's a point that both parties are heated and the temperature needs to come down. And I thought this was the right decision. They understand how serious we are about the electricity and the tariffs. And rather than going back and forth and having threats to each other, we have both agreed, let cooler heads prevail. We need to sit down and move this forward. This is a massive, massive deal, the USMCA, which the federal government will be leading the charge. I'll be sitting down with all our premiers tomorrow as well and discussing this and their issues as well. So we're going to go down there, and we're going to go down there with confidence. We're going to go down there with strength. And again, hopefully we can move this forward. I feel as a province, and I only speak for the province of Ontario, I want to reaffirm I do not speak for any other premiers.
Somebody talked to him. I'm pausing this because I want to talk about this. Somebody talked to him about that, because before he was speaking for other premiers, I know he's done that for Danielle Smith, and she was really pissed off about that. She told us in like a closed like meeting that I was at, like would have been a month ago when I went to Calgary, that he was talking for all of them when it wasn't for all of them. And so she was quite upset about that. So I'm glad. So it must be premiers that went to Doug Ford and said, "What are you doing? You're going to destroy our provinces." It wouldn't shock me if it was Scott Moe and Danielle Smith who raked him over the coals. But anyways, we're going to keep listening.
Everyone's very patriotic, and we have the best premiers I've ever seen. But we're going to be talking about the USMCA moving forward. The worst thing that could happen is wait and let this drag out until April the 2nd. So we're going to move forward and have a very good conversation with Secretary Lutnick and the whole trade team, as he said, and hopefully we can move this forward, because it doesn't benefit anyone, as I told him, no matter if it's the auto sector or any other sector here in Canada, and specifically Ontario. And all I mentioned, assembly lines will shut down in the US and Canada. The stock market is tumbling over $4 trillion. Consumer confidence has went down. I said it's absolute chaos out there right now. We need to move forward jointly. I emphasized how Canadians love Americans, and I know Americans love Canadians, but going back and forth with each other, it just hurts both countries. So I want to thank Secretary Lutnick for reaching out, putting that olive branch. And I've been in business a number of years, a lot of negotiations, and part of the last negotiation, when someone does that, you have to respect that person for putting out that olive branch. And I'm going to make sure we go down there and have a very good but strong and confident conversation. Well, just a little while ago, I had
chaotic.
So you,
That's what I'm working for.
so you're saying when it looks chaotic and unpredictable from the outside, that there actually is a master plan when it comes to these tariffs?
It is not chaotic. And the only one who thinks it's chaotic is someone who's being silly. He said.
Sorry, I forgot I was muted. I'm muting myself because when I'm not and I play video, the sound is working. Sorry, guys. What I said in between the two videos is that was muted, is there's a video here that describes that it wasn't necessarily an yeah, the video wasn't muted, it was me. I was still muted in between, I forgot to unmute. Usually, I don't have to do that, usually it doesn't echo, so I don't know why it's echoing, but and I don't have my earpiece either, but normally the earpiece is not for that, it's for the mic, so that I know how it sounds, but what I was saying in between that you guys didn't hear because I was muted is Doug Ford at the end of the video says they extended us an olive branch, but it doesn't look like it's an olive branch. So I'll keep playing that video so you can hear it. Basically, that Doug Ford was lying about that to try to save face.
Reciprocal tariffs.
Nobody expected him to announce 50% tariffs this morning.
He needed to break some guy in Ontario who said he was going to tax American energy 25%. The president of the United States in the White House says, "Oh, no, you won't," and breaks him. Breaks him in what? By a tweet and a truth. And you think that's chaotic? You know what I think that is? I think that is the thank God we have a president who's taking care of us. Because if you were in one of those states and you thought your energy prices were going to go up 25%, and you said, "Where's the president?" and all of a sudden he came down like thunder to make that end, you'd say, cool. I'm glad that's the guy in the White House. And that's what we've got.
It's not an extension of an olive branch. Doug Ford probably went crawling to him and say, "Please don't do this. This will destroy us." And did you see how his whole demeanor, Doug Ford's whole demeanor changed after that? It's not time for hot heads, he says. Like now he's acting like an adult. Okay, so someone said LeBlanc put 25% tariff on steel and aluminum. Neil said that this morning. I didn't see that. Let's go find it. Might as well go look for it. Here, there's a video this morning. I'm just trying to find the best one. Okay, let's open it up here.
The U.S.
I'll play it with you guys. Here we go. I gotta mute.
Together, we will do what we must do to protect Canada's economy. With these most recent tariffs on Canadian steel and aluminum, the U.S. administration is once again inserting disruption and disorder into an incredibly successful trading partnership and raising the costs of everyday goods for Canadians and American households alike. We will not stand idly by while our iconic steel and aluminum industries are being unfairly targeted. Today, I am announcing that the Government of Canada, following a dollar-for-dollar approach, will be imposing, as of 12:01 a.m. tomorrow, March 13th, 2025, 25% reciprocal tariffs on an additional $29.8 billion of imports from the United States. This includes steel products worth $12.6 billion and aluminum products worth $3 billion, as well as additional imported U.S. goods worth $14.2 billion for a total of $29.8 billion. The list of additional products affected by counter tariffs includes computers, sports equipment, and cast iron products as examples. These tariffs are in addition to Canada's 25% counter tariffs on $30 billion of imports from the United States in response to U.S. tariffs put in place on March 4th. In addition, we learned yesterday that the United States tariffs would also be imposed on steel and aluminum content in certain derivative products. The government is currently assessing this aspect and may impose, of course, further tariffs in response to this measure as well. Aujourd'hui,
So, just so people understand, these tariffs are things coming from the US into Canada now have a 25% tariff, which means those products are going to cost 25% more for you, a Canadian. The fact that they are doing counter tariffs, it just shows how incompetent they are. Counter tariff is not going to affect the US. We're like a blip into their export. We're like nothing to them. This is going to affect you and me, us Canadians. We're going to have to pay more. This is going to increase the cost of everything in Canada. Like they're going tit for tat as if like we have like the cards. Again, I've said it over and over again. We don't have the cards. But they are so incompetent, they don't even realize that. This is like we're already getting hurt because our industries are going to be struggling because America's not going to be buying as much from us anymore. So we're going to have a huge economic downfall. Now, on top of that, we're going to have to pay 25% more on all of these things that we get from the US. Why? Because we can't get them from Canada. Most of these things, the reason it's bought from the US is not because it's cheaper. Our dollar is so poor. It's not cheaper. It's probably the same, or we're not able to make it here, therefore we're going to buy there. And then at the same time, it's going to push people to buy it from China, who's what? Tariffing us some more. Wow. This is ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And it just shows how when we vote at the voting booth, what we put on that ballot truly affects our lives. I never really thought that before. When I used to be like a lefty, I thought, well, who does it matter who I vote for? It doesn't really change anything. I don't believe that anymore. Not for a second. And I think the last few years has shown us that who we vote for really affects our lives and our future and our kids' future. And it hasn't been as much apparent as it has been in the last 5 years. And how they're dealing with this tariff war is just another example of that. Okay, let's see what else I've got. I wanted to show, there was another video I wanted to show. Trump, here it is. Well, this is a news report, so I don't know if it's Trump. Neil says they don't care about you. They don't care about the real people. I'm starting to believe that. Truly starting to believe that. I'm just reading some of the comments here. Maria said they've sent a team of misfit to the US to negotiate for 2 months. Why are we worse off? I can tell you it's because the people they sent are people they should have sent. Stephanie says, exactly. It's stressing me out, especially now that we need to build a new home. Yeah, the cost of construction is going to go way up. Way up. Like a lot of the like plumbing fixture, even electrical fixture, a lot of what I've bought to build my house was from the US because we just don't have that production here in Canada. You can't buy it from Canada. So it has to come from the US. So not only is our dollar tanking and now everything's costing more because we're paying for things in the US in US dollars. Now they're going to add 25% tariff. Like the metal, that's all plumbing stuff. Are they going to exempt home building material? I doubt it. So right now, home building, a lot of things will go up 25%. Unreal. They are so incompetent. Oh, it makes me so angry. Brenda says we need a proper negotiation team. Yes, we do. Frank, I could do a better job than them. A small store in Watrous that sells mostly American products got charged an extra $500 to stock up. Let's see what Trump has to say here.
And it would have been a very bad thing if he did. And he's not going to do that. So I respect that. But we were just informed that he's not going to do that.
The Ontario Premier calling you and giving you his decision about the electricity surcharge, and you said you were pleased about that. Will you make a different decision now about the tariffs on Canada? Will you reduce it?
At that, but probably so, yeah.
You're looking
He was
at
a
it.
gentleman.
Will you reduce it back?
He was a gentleman. Look, I said it before. We give Canada $200 billion a year. We subsidize Canada between all of the things we give them and trade. We give them, we don't have to have cars made in Canada. We don't have to have lumber from Canada. We have tremendous lumber. We have tremendous trees. All I have to do is unfreeze them from some of the restrictions that were put on. I can do that with an executive order. We don't need energy. We have more energy than anybody else in the world. So we spend $200 billion a year subsidizing Canada. We don't have to do that. And frankly, the way that gets solved is Canada should honestly become our 51st state. We wouldn't have a northern border problem. We wouldn't have a tariff problem. They don't have much. They spend very little, as you know, the least of almost anybody on military. And we spend the most of anybody on military. We have a great military. I rebuilt the military during my first time. We're going to have to rebuild it a little bit again. Not that much, but we're going to have to rebuild it a little bit again. But Canada would be great as our cherished 51st state. You wouldn't have to worry about borders. You wouldn't have to worry about anything. And by the way, Canada is very highly taxed, and we're very low tax. We're considered a low tax nation because of me, because I cut the taxes so low. So the people of Canada would pay much less tax.
But just to be
It
clear,
makes a
with that-
lot of sense. And by the way, when you take away that artificial line that looks like it was done with a ruler, and that's what it was. Some guy sat there years ago and they said, rah. Well, when you take away that and you look at that beautiful formation of Canada and the United States, there is no place anywhere in the world that Canada.
I'm muted again. Sorry. Thanks for letting me know. Tomorrow we won't have that issue. I'll have the headset plugged in, so there shouldn't be echo. It's in what I said. I'm going to repeat myself. What I said is it's interesting because Trump seemed to have good words to say about Doug Ford, especially after Doug Ford has been talking bad about Trump. So I'm a bit shocked by that. But and at the same time, if you saw me leave the screen a bit, I still have the comment here. Normally, yeah, if you saw me leave, sorry, I've finished my chain of thoughts. If you saw me leave the thing, I've been drinking way too much tea, so I had to run quick to use the washroom. But so sometimes if you see me do that, that's probably what I've done. This is like my third tea today. I'm just looking at the comments here. Isn't there laws against gouging, raising price on already shelved items? See, the problem is if the price goes up, that means they have to buy it to replace it. So what they're buying it at will be more. Trump has already highlighted April 2nd, something big is coming. Brenda says this is more about amalgamation 2019, The Great Reset, has the maps in it. 10 kingdoms, one world government. I'm just looking to see. Saskabush says stores putting price up already so they can get ahead. They don't care about anything but their bottom line. Is that grocery stores? There's also something happening. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but there's a ton of stores closing down in Canada right now. So the Bay just announced they're filing for solvency, like going bankrupt. PV Mart just shut down. Ricky's Bootlegger, like not the liquor, but Bootlegger, the clothing store, is shutting down. There's a few other ones. If you go to the mall right now, you'll see like the signs. Maria says, can we count the money we spent putting tampons in the men's bathroom in our barracks? Rage says, make sure you turn sound off on YouTube if you have it up on a second tab, even with headphones. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how to like usually when I did the show there was no echo. This is the first time, but I've just moved everything down here. So maybe that's why. I was just looking. There was like knots in the wall that I hadn't noticed. Brenda says online has destroyed the retail. Rage in the Cage says the Bay closure has been coming for decades. PV Mart is a hedge fund move. No, you're not getting an echo right now. The echo is just when I play a video, which usually didn't used to do it. So I have to mute myself when I'm playing the video. Or else you guys get the echo, and then sometimes I forget to unmute myself because that's not something I've had to do during this episode. Let's see what other video I've got here. This one. So Doug Ford is Team Carney now. Let's watch this video.
You guys are going through a transition in leadership as well. You're about to have a new prime minister, Mark Carney. Have you spoken to him since he won? And where do you expect him to take this fight?
Well, I spoke to him yesterday. He's a very bright individual. He understands finances like no other person. And we need to sit down, which we will tomorrow. We're going to have breakfast tomorrow morning, and we'll have a strong strategy.
You guys are going through a transition in leadership as well. You're about to have a new prime minister, Mark Carney. Yes. Have you spoken to him since he won? And where do you expect him to take this fight?
Well, I spoke to him yesterday. He's a very bright individual.
You're saying you're going to run attack.
Oh, I muted again. I'm sorry. I didn't say much. Tomorrow I'll fix this. But interesting because Doug Ford is saying nice thing about Mark Carney is being nice about Trump. Trump was nice to Doug Ford. So now this video is a video about Doug Ford purchasing ad power in ads in the US. Let's see what it says.
And we're going to ramp up the ads. We spent tens of millions of dollars. But now the odds are going to be a little different. They're going to show, you know, before he was elected, and then when these tariffs come, and if we don't get a tariff deal, they're going to be assembly lines shut down, jobs are going to be lost, unemployment's going up, and inflation's going up. That matter of fact, inflation's going up right now because of the uncertainty. Again, I don't want to do this. We didn't start this fight, and neither did the Americans. The president started this fight.
So if I'm hearing you, you're saying you're going to run attack ads basically against what he's doing in the States.
Well, I wouldn't call them attack ads. I'm going to call them information ads.
Okay.
And they're going to inform the great people of the United States, you know, how it could be and having two great nations, and how it might be if these tariffs continue to go through.
Let's see what Trump thinks about that. Ah. Interesting. The other videos I've played, I have a few other videos that are not related to the tariff war. One of them is one of the viewers told me, listeners yesterday, or viewers, whatever.
Later this year.
One of you guys, I think it was it not Kevin? Was it? Where did he go? David, did you leave? I don't see you. I think it was David that told me about this yesterday. So we're going to play this video. It's a reporter asking the press secretary a question, Caroline Levitt.
Later this year.
I'm sorry, have you ever paid a tariff? Because I have.
That's
they
it.
don't get charged on foreign companies. They get charged on the importers.
And ultimately, when we have fair and balanced trade, which the American people have not seen in decades, as I said at the beginning, revenues will stay here, wages will go up, and our country will be made wealthy again. And I think it's insulting that you're trying to test my knowledge of economics and the decisions that this president has made. I'm now regret giving a question to the Associated Press. Mary, later this year.
I'm sorry, have you ever paid a tariff? Because
She's such a good press secretary. She's very quick-witted too. So I loved her response, but it was his attitude. Like, have you ever paid a tariff? I think everyone who's bought anything from another country at some point in time has. I was wondering where David had gone. He's like, I'm back. Pooch did the required numbers. So you had to take your dog out. Brenda says, so FYI, anyone who stood against the Liberals are now deemed a national security risk. Oh, there was an echo again when I played the video. I thought I had muted myself. Did I not? They're all in to break the people. David says Americans will not feel the Canadian pain. No, I think the stock market is actually on its way up. Here, let's play this video. It went down, but now it's going back up. Let's see. Oops, wrong video.
Rally underway right now with these numbers hitting the tape. The Dow Industrial is now up 532 points right now. Cheryl Cassoni with the numbers. Boom, Cheryl.
We've got a market-moving report, Maria. Everything coming in lighter than expected. Inflation is easing, according to this report, for February. Month over month, we got a gain of 0.2%. The street was looking for a gain of 0.3%. Take a look at those numbers. We came in 2.8% year over year. Expectation was 2.9%. Core month over month, again, lighter than expected, up 0.2. We were looking for 0.3. And then core year over year, also lighter than expected, 3.1%. The street was looking for 3.2%. We did see, you were talking about the energy story, a little bit of a drawdown in gasoline prices. New vehicle prices fell month to month. Gasoline prices fell month to month. Housing, that's still kind of a sticky issue in here, but it's a pretty nominal jump overall. But that's usually the biggest piece. of that shelter component. You guys talking about that really quick. Let me give you this. So basically half of the all items increase for the month was shelter for the month of February, but it was offset by a fall in airline fares. And also we had a 1% decline again for that gasoline number. So you still had overall the energy index just jumping just a little bit, 0.2%, but because you had electricity and nat gas prices increase a little bit. But overall, the market seems to really like this report, Maria. Back over to you.
I'm going to unmute now. Got to remember. So that's in the US. I don't know what the Canadian markets are doing. I don't think we're faring off as good as the US. Again, this tariff war is going to affect us a lot more than the US. But it's interesting to see they're saying, oh, it's going to send everything down. And it was going down. But it seems like this was posted today at 8:40 a.m. So interesting. Anyways, now there's another story that I'm going to talk about, and then I'll end the episode. And
just to be clear, then you all.
I got a video here. I'll have to mute myself again while I play it. So there's been a attack on Tesla right now. There's dealerships getting destroyed. They're burning up Tesla vehicles. A lot of the left who's bought Teslas are boycotting, putting stuff on their vehicle, returning it, selling it. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. David, I'll read some comments after. So right now there's like this huge attack on Tesla. Tesla's stock, David says, have lost 39% in values in a short period of time. What these radicals are doing is unforgivable. Inflation numbers for USA were good. Eggs down, fuel down. Pre-1933 had no taxes, only tariffs. That time was the best economic time. Saskabush said that. Firecracker, hey, you're back. Says, didn't Trudeau call the truckers and anyone who supported them probably domestic terrorists? Yeah, he did. Brenda says they were stealing and driving them into the Bow River. In Calgary? Like, and these are the people who say they care about the environment. It's almost comical at this point. You either think climate change is real and we need to do everything to stop it, or you know it's all BS. You just want to push your Marxist agenda. And now that Elon Musk is going against that, then now it's not climate change anymore. It's not electrical vehicles anymore. No, we're going to boycott the best electrical vehicle maker there is. They can't even decide what their side they're on. This exposes all of their agenda. It really, really does. Like none of it makes sense. It just exposes just like how irrational they are. Let's watch this video.
But then you also overnight have this post claiming that protests at Tesla dealerships are illegal. He said today he would label violence against dealerships domestic terrorism. Now, you know I am judicious in how I play this sound, but I think you need to hear it from him.
Mr. President talks about some of the violence that's been going on around the country at dealerships. Some say they should be labeled domestic terrorists.
I will do that. I'll do it. I'm going to stop them. We catch anybody doing it because they're harming a great American company. Let me tell you, you do it to Tesla and you do it to any company, we're going to catch you and you're going to go through hell.
So just to be clear, you protest a private company, you are labeled by this administration a domestic terrorist. But then you also overnight have this post claiming that protests at
It's interesting how much they're the post, I'll share the post. So wokeness. Sorry if you guys can hear my son screaming in the background. MSNBC just justifies violence against Tesla as a form of protest, not domestic terror. Interesting. Can you guys hear the crying? I told Arlene if they're loud that she'd have to take him to the bedroom. Yeah, she's taking him. Right. I missed a comment here. Rage said a funny joke. Rage in the Cage said, David, your dog can count to 2. It qualifies to be a liberal finance minister. If you can get him to 5 by the time Pierre gets in there, it is hope. That's kind of funny. Moms at school board meetings were labeled domestic terrorists by FBI. Same with Catholics doing Latin mass. That's right. That's right. I don't know if you guys remember that coming out. Oh, why isn't it switching back? Oh, it's because I'm not using the right one. There you go. What else do I have? I think that's it. But Trump bought a Tesla to kind of try to help Elon Musk. Anyways, that's all I've got today. We're 10 minutes from the usual time, but I ran out of things. Again, I had to put this episode together real quick today because I was supposed to have a guest and there was like a scheduling conflict. So I think he's going to be coming on March 29th. Pencil. Yeah, March 29. I'll respond after. But yeah, if you don't follow me already, I never say this, but you should like the videos too, because it helps bring it to the algorithm. But if you don't follow me already, you can follow me on all social media. You just search Nadine G. Ness, and then you'll find me. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Rumble, YouTube, and X. Well, David says, thank you. Glad you figured out how to post your streams. I don't know if I figured it out. I didn't do anything different today than I usually do. So I don't know how you got notified of it before. Like what happens is when I enter into StreamYard, I go into create the live stream and then I pick the title and stuff. And then I go into like the studio. But then in the studio is where I can get like everything ready, all the settings ready. Rage in the Cage says, good stream. The little things like mics and editing come with time. See, that's the thing. Usually I don't have all of these technical issues. It's just because I moved my studio from upstairs to downstairs. So, and had to reconnect everything. So tomorrow will be a regular episode. Hopefully it'll be on my MacBook. So I'll might have some issues as well with sound. But we'll see if we can figure it out before I come live. So hopefully I won't have the echoing problem like I had yesterday. Sasbush said, it said stream who start at 11:47. Would start at 11:47. Huh. I don't even know how that got posted. So it would have made that post when I went, because I went in like around 11:40 to start it. By the time I picked the title, it would have been, yeah, around 11:47. So weird. I'm wondering, I'll have to see what happened. Maybe what I'll do, I'll start. Did it have like a timer running down while it was black or no? Because I could see that the only way I found out is David commented in the comments. I'm like, how am I getting comments already? He's like, oh, you figured it out how to schedule the episode. Jonathan Grande says the glitches don't bother me. If your show was too polished, it wouldn't feel authentic. It's true. I had tried initially what I was going to do with the show, I was going to do a little bit like Klein and just do like pre-recorded clips where I talk about things. And I tried to do a few and it just felt really off. And I told my husband, I'm like, I really don't like it. I feel like I'm like playing a part or like like being an actor. I just really don't like that. And it just didn't sit right. And I think I had like breakthrough that week spiritually because I was praying to God, okay, what what's next? I don't feel like that is it. Like I don't feel like that's what you're asking me to do. And and I don't know if you hear from God or if you have conversations with God. I do on a daily basis, several times a day, sometimes more, sometimes less, depends how distracted I am. And at the time I was just like at a pass. I'm like, okay, what's next? And he said, well, just be you. But I couldn't figure out how to do that on pre-recorded thing with no one. And I thought, well, when were times where when I'm just me, and when I do public speaking, I'm just me. When I'm with people, I'm just me. So that's kind of I'm like when I do live for Unified Grassroots, I'm just me. I used to do live on my Facebook before, and so I was like, what if my show is live instead? Like, what if I just do a live show? Then I can just be me and people get to see like the good and the bad and the ugly and the burps or coughing or sneezing and get to grow with me and learn with me too, because some of these things that I'm bringing up, I'm learning as we go. So we're kind of learning together. So yeah, so it was like huge breakthrough. I really felt like confirmation from the Lord that that's the direction he wanted me to go in. And some of you don't know, I had the studio built for almost a year before I started filming. So it was like clear from the Lord that I was supposed to do this. It was one of the avenues that he was going to get me to fight for change with, and I didn't quite know how it was all going to go. So I gotten everything for the studio like a year ago, and I was just waiting for God to kind of give the go ahead, and waited and waited and waited, and I just it never felt right. And then, yeah, all of a sudden there was like this breakthrough. And I think it was the next week that I started doing like a live show. And that was end of November. So I think maybe the 29th or the 30th of November is when I started. And yeah, yeah. And then it kind of it's grown from there and it's kind of became its own thing. I had some guests. I think at first I didn't have any guests. And then over time I got some guests to come on, and I think I really enjoy that part, especially the interviewing. I wish it was in person, probably because it kind of reignites like some of the stuff that I used to do as a police officer when I would interview suspects. It's a little bit different. I'm not interviewing criminals. It's actually much easier than interviewing criminals, but I find it challenges me to really hone in on my listening skills so I can pick up some of the things that they're talking about, some of the stuff they're saying, their body language and stuff. I find that really fascinating. And then yesterday, I had a meeting with someone yesterday morning with someone I might hire if I start monetizing this work to help with doing clips of video, because I'm finding I don't have the time to do it. And so I had a meeting with him and he's like, why don't you do more content on your profiling skills? Because that's one thing that people would find very beneficial to learn about and would find very fascinating. And there's not any out there. So it's really a niche that's never been reached. So I was thinking about that and praying about that. And I thought, well, what if I had like one episode a week where I would just like play videos where I do like a full analysis of like a speech per se, where I can say where I think he's being deceitful or where I think his body language is not matching what he says and things like that. And just do like an analyst of specific speeches and what I think they should have said instead, just kind of analyze it, or watch like interviews of criminals where if I was interviewing that criminal, where there would have been like verbal slips done by the criminal where an officer could have grabbed onto that and actually gone and asked more question on that specific thing. Maybe an officer that would have missed it. That's another thing people don't know. When there's big investigations like that, they're like really, really big, high profile investigation. When a police officer is interviewing a suspect, there's usually 3 or 4 people watching, to analyzing everything the suspect is doing, analyzing how the police officer are asking questions. And so, and then you'll notice, like, if you watch any like true crime and stuff and they show the interview, the police officer will often like leave the room and come back. Well, what they do is they'll leave the room and go talk to the other officers who are watching, and will be like, did I miss anything? And then the officers, that way it's even more effective of an interrogation, because you have several minds looking at it and analyzing it. And then they'll go back and use like those slips that they may not have caught themselves that another officer has caught, and then they'll dig into it some more. But they might not do it right away. They might just like be building more rapport. So I could talk about like different techniques and stuff that are used that I'm recognizing if we're watching an interview. For example, like even just like Putin's interview with Tucker Carlson, like there was so many verbal cues and things that Putin was doing that was really interesting, in the sense Putin's extremely highly trained on how to respond, and he was very measured, as in very careful not to give away much, versus it wasn't like any other foreign leaders or influential people like presidents being interviewed and stuff. Putin was very different. Reading his body language, you can tell he's had training on how to hide anything. So David says, be interesting to take your take on that military major in Tweed, Ontario interrogation. Which one is that? I'm not sure. Anyways, sorry, I said I was going to go and then I kept on chatting. Look at you guys distracting me. But I do have to go to the city. I have to go get parts so that I can connect everything to my better computer tomorrow. I'll show you guys the computer. It's this one. So everything's going to be connected to this. I ordered it a few months ago because I wanted to be able to film and do interview. Oh, interesting. I wanted to film and do interview when I'm out and about, when I'm going to conferences and stuff. So I figure if I could kind of connect my entire studio to it, it'd be good, because then I wouldn't have to redo everything. Putin isn't going for the 30-day pause. Interesting. I'll have to look. Oh, David's saying the base commander who unalived a military member. I think I remember that. Was he the one that was like murdering a bunch of women too? Yeah, I'll actually, David, you've got my email. Send me a link to it. But yeah, okay, I'll let you guys go because I have to go buy stuff in the city, and then I don't know if we'll do live tonight because I don't want to interfere with Clyde's live. So maybe it'll be tomorrow, but someone said he'll have tomorrow. Anyways, I'm going to go. I will see you guys tomorrow. Probably around 12-ish. It should be around 12. I'll start right at 12, hopefully tomorrow. See you guys.